Talk about a brand new phenomenal technology that's finally available to us. It's called core aeravation. What? You like it? We're going to discuss that in comparison to dethatching, in comparison to core aeration, and there are critical differences. We're going to cover them in this video, plus when you would want to do each and every single one of them. I own a dethatching unit. I've never used it at my own house. I rent the plug machines, the core aeration machines that harvest the plugs. I've never used it at my own property. As soon as I was able to get my hands on a core aeravator, I went over my own yard. Not once, not twice, 15 times. About how many times have you gone over this spot, do you think?
10, 15.
How many times? 10, 15 times? And the grass isn't destroyed.
No.
What is a core aeravator? Simply put, soil fractionation. And I know that's not really putting anything very simply, but what it does is it literally drives spikes into the ground, and then as those spikes are buried below ground, they shake, rattle, and roll, and they loosen up 100% of the soil in the area they're working. Compare that to typical core aeration that jabs a hollow tube into the ground, yanks a plug out, and leaves that plug behind. The plug and pull method, more is not better. 1 or 2 passes maximum. If we'd went over this yard 15 times like my wife went over our yard, it would look more like a plowed field instead of green grass. What happens is that plug can then decompose and go back into the soil, but it's not loosening up any of the ground around it. And in fact, when that plug gets pushed into the soil, there's an argument that it's actually compacting the soil around the core of that plug. And eventually, of course, that soil will release and expand. There is a time and a place for each and every one of these processes. Let's cover dethatching. I own a dethatching unit, and I won't use it in my own yard because it is way too hard on the lawn. There's a reason why they don't recommend dethatching in July or August, the hottest parts of the season, because it's so invasive and so hard on the lawn that it can stress your lawn out to the point where your lawn, instead of benefiting, suffers. Imagine taking a giant rake, sticking it into the lawn, and tearing out all of the dead material. You're also tearing all the roots of the live grass. You're removing all that thatch, that buildup, allowing future expansion, but the damage during the process can almost outweigh the benefits that dethatching offer. In comparison, core aeration, which is the standard plug and pull. You pull the plug out of the ground, you leave it behind. That plug will then decompose back into the soil. What happens if you run over that plug before it naturally breaks down? It gets smashed back on top of the lawn, and it compacts the lawn even further. There's a very strong case that most yards suffer from overcompaction. The soil literally is so tight that the roots can't burrow through it. Soil fractionation, or core aeration, has been around as long as farming has been around. It's called tilling the soil. Every spring before farmers plant their new crops, they till the soil and they loosen it up. Now, you don't want to till your yard. With core aeration, the spikes go into the ground and they vibrate, but they don't turn the ground over. They're loosening the soil as if they're tilling the ground up, but they're not flipping it upside down, allowing the grass that's at the top of the surface to now poof, explode and grow. Let's talk about the schedule for each of these services. With dethatching, it's recommended to do this once a year at the most, or once every other year if for some reason you have excess thatch buildup, which frankly most yards just don't have. With the core aeration, where you pull the plugs out, that's recommended at the most twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. With core aeration, you can use this process up to once a week or even more with no detrimental side effects. You are loosening up the soil, leaving all the grass on the top, not leaving anything behind to get recompacted into the soil, And that loose soil is going to allow your yard to explode. Furthermore, you can do core aeration if you have an upcoming event and people are going to be walking on the yard and you're worried about soil compaction. You can do it before the event. People can walk immediately on it, or you can come in the very next day and core aerate your yard at any time of the year, because it's not invasive. It's actually loosening up the soil, giving the grass a break. I'm absolutely pumped about this, but I want to hear from you guys and gals. Tell me about your experiences with each in the comments down below.